Okay, welcome everybody to the second house of the morning. I won't repeat myself from the other house, but what I'm going to do now is, can you all hear me first and foremost at the back?
That's better.
Yeah? Okay. What I'm going to do now is just read through what we put on the application for the plaque for Duncan Edwards at this property, and then I'm going to hand over to Sir Bobby, who I hope can say a few words about his great friend, Duncan Edwards. Duncan Edwards, born 1st of October 1936, died February 1958. Duncan Edwards was just 21 years of age when he passed away as a result of the injuries which he received in the Munich air disaster in February 1958. Duncan Edwards lived in our borough and our local community of Old Trafford, mostly number 19 Gorse Avenue, from October 52 until his passing. During that time, he became a sporting legend, not only to the youth of the local area, but also those throughout Great Britain, Europe and the world. By his quiet, modest and self-effacing manner, he set a shining example to both the youth and local people of how a sportsman should live his life, and something that many of the modern day footballers could take a note or two about. He became a role model for us all, and Duncan developed into arguably the finest football player that Britain has ever seen. And he brought great credit not only to his club Manchester United, but also to his country England, for whom he played 18 times. Even today, some 53 years after his passing, he's still remembered so fondly by the people of Old Trafford, and is still the most talked about player of his generation. His life and contribution to the game of football needs to be remembered not only by the residents of Old Trafford and the borough and Stretford, but by the rest of the football community in the world as well. And this application is part of a Stretford High School project led by the students of Stretford. And can I now introduce you to Sir Bobby Charlton. Round of applause, please.
Very important people. Can I just say a big thank you for paying me the honour actually of representing everyone that loved watching Duncan Edwards play football. My digs were a few hundred yards over that way. He was at the back of Longford Park here, and whenever he wasn't playing football for Manchester United, he used to be practicing and watching teams play in Longford Park for the first few years of his life. And I've got to say that when you mentioned when you mentioned Duncan Edwards, the first thing that comes to my mind is that he was the best player that I ever played, and the better player than any I ever played against. I was fortunate enough to do my national service with him in Nescliffe in Shrewsbury, and I saw a lot of him, and I saw him because I hadn't got into the first team by then, but he was a regular in the first team. In fact, he was a regular when he was 18, I think, playing for England. He was such a sensational player. He had phenomenal love of the game. He loved playing football. He had a natural talent. He couldn't teach anybody it. If you were 50 or 60 yards away, he would hit left foot, right foot, didn't matter. Directly, spot on. He was a sensational passer of the ball. He was tough. He was tackling. He could tackle. He could play in any position. And if you just think about that, he could play in any position. At a time when the game was tough and people were really hard, it was really hard playing football. Not so. The football pitches you see now is not like what we used to play in. But Duncan Edwards used to run through it as though it was his own. He was the most sensational player. And he loved Manchester United, and I know that he loved his dates. He wasn't a drinking man. We could hardly ever get him out to have a drink, but he had a fantastic association with anybody, the general public. He loved it, and I was fortunate enough to be one of his pals for such a long time. When he was very ill in Munich. He actually, the first thing he said to me when he saw me was, where the hell have you been? He was tough as chicken, frightened me to death. He was the best and toughest player I ever played with. And I'll never forget Duncan Edwards. And this will be fantastic, and I'm really grateful to the people who live here now, because every match day, they're going to get hundreds and hundreds of people coming past here. And Tommy Taylor, where we've just been, the same will happen because they have something about Manchester United. And Manchester United's history was the Munich air crash, unfortunately. And Duncan Edwards and Tommy Taylor were two of the shining lights. I'm so proud that the the council have decided to actually do this and give people the opportunity to think about what it was like in those days. And after, when Munich happened, it was because we were trying to win the European Cup. And Matt Busby said, you know, we're good enough to win the European Cup. And because we went past Belgrade, Red Star Belgrade, and it looked as though the world was ours. And unfortunately at Munich, it was all broken up and it was all stopped. But nevertheless, it was the European Cup was the holy grail. We had to somehow or other win that. And unfortunately we did win it in 1968, and we won it since, and we have a fantastic club at Manchester United now. But when you think about Manchester United, the first thing most people would think about will be the Munich air crash and the great players that were lost. And I have to say that there were great players, and I'm so pleased that there's such a big crowd here today. And I just want to say, Manchester United is the greatest club, without any question, in the world. And it's because of people like Duncan Edwards.
Especially mine.
5, 4, 3, 2,
1.
Okay, so read the photographs.